Hi and welcome to yet another screencast in the Creating Sample Sets for GrandOrgue series. Today I will talk about noise reduction, and this can probably become a quite long video, I'm afraid. But the process of doing noise reduction will be a long and slow journey, I can promise you that. So, I've been a bit hesitant about making this video because for all the sample sets I have produced, I have used a software created by Nick Appleton that he developed somewhere around 2010. And this software will likely not be suitable for most users because it is a command line tool. It doesn't have any graphical user interface that most people are accustomed to working with. So yeah, well. However, it does produce very good results when you finally get things right when working with it. So I should say also that this software for noise reduction that Nick has created, it isn't open source, so I have never seen the code of it. I have only used binaries that Nick has been so kind to provide me with. And he has said to me that if a sample set producer really wants to test his tool, he can provide them with binaries too. But you have to ask him nicely. So it is a command line tool, and in Nick's own words, it's a horrible command line tool. So you would have to be comfortable working on a terminal like this and giving commands and putting parameters or arguments to this software when running it. And you would have to kind of wait for it to finish its process, and then you would open the audio file in an other audio editor and examine the results, and then go back and tweak the settings and do it over and over until you get the results you want. And most people just wouldn't be comfortable with that. So I'm not going to show you how to use that software. You will have to learn that for yourself if you're interested. So, I have heard other people that use Windows or Mac or something like that, that they have used softwares like Isotope, RX, Sony SoundForge, or whatever audio editor actually that you like to use. Most of them have some kind of noise reduction feature. But I am using Linux only, so my choices are somewhat limited. I have tested using SOX, for instance, and I have tested using the Wave Cleaner, GTK Wave Cleaner. And also, of course, I have used Audacity quite a lot. And when I started out in somewhere around 2009 or so, I wasn't really happy with the results of Audacity. But nowadays, it produces pretty good results, actually. So I will show you a little bit here. Why do we have to do noise reduction at all? That is a just question. Well, the audio that we record usually have too much noise in them to be really usable. Especially when you are combining many samples together, then the noise will multiply. So here is a few tones of the Röhrflöte 4 from my chamber organ that I have recorded. And without noise reduction it sounds like this. So it's very noisy. With Nick's software it sounds like this. With only the noise reduction of Audacity it sounds like this. So you can hear that there are noise left in the release tail, but the tone is actually pretty good in the Audacity noise reduction. It works quite well with higher pitched samples, but if we would combine the noise reduction of Audacity with its noise gate, then we can get the following results. Next. Audacity. So the results are pretty good with Audacity. So this is what I'm going to show you today, but you should keep in mind that the tool you're using isn't as important as how you are using it and what results you ultimately want to have, and that you are paying attention to details in the noise reduction itself. So I will close this and we will go on with working on the noise reduction in Audacity. So I have imported the recorded files to my computer, and I will only work on the AB version today. So that is what you will see, but basically it's the same anyway for the XY, so it's no difference really. So here we have the file. Actually, I have opened it once and then imported it again and muted it so that I can have a reference that I can check the results of my noise reduction against. So at first you can see that it seems like my audio has clipped, but this was recorded with a Zoom F6 in 32-bit float mode. So this is actually no problem at all. I will just have to lower the amplitude, and I will do that by the amplify effect. And I will say change this to -1.5, and then I will get a new maximum slightly below clipping point. So I will do that on the file I'm going to work on, and I will do it also on this reference. So I will just repeat the effect there. This feature of just repeating the effect with Control R is quite handy sometimes to use. So most noise reduction algorithms work on a short part of the audio that you don't have any sound in other than the background noise that you want to remove. So you will have to select a part of that first. So I will zoom in a little here where I had the silence. And I will enlarge it slightly, like so. And then I will switch to the spectrogram view. This will allow me to see what is happening in the audio a bit more easily. So you can see that in this background noise we have things happening at various points, and these points wouldn't be suitable for making the noise profile, as they are kind of contaminated, if you would say. Explaining a few things. I had a bucket of fermenting beer in the room when I was doing the sampling. So you will hear bubbles from the airlock coming out. And also a dog was barking outside, and I might have had a bird singing at some point. All these things will be forever in the samples too, more or less. It's very difficult to remove them completely. So that is why I usually do the sampling late at night when it's a important project, but this was just for showing, so it might as well have some defects in it to work with. So listening at this, we have the background noise first. Oh, I forgot. I of course have to change the audio to using jack, because otherwise I won't have any sound here. So now we should be able to play it back. That was bubbles. And here the dog is barking, and we had bubbles once again. So that portion is not suitable. So I will select something here instead. Perhaps see that it's a small jump up there. Maybe like that would do. So that is selected. I will go to the noise reduction and get noise profile first, like this. So then that is done, and I switch back to the waveform. So I had many different things in this file. Usually I record only one stop at a time and try to not mix things together, but this is a demonstration and I wanted to cover as many things as possible. So therefore things will be a bit crowded, let's say it like that. So I have draw stop effects. I have the samples playing, and I have more draw stop effects happening everywhere, and I have the key action noises, and I have the blower, which has another noise level, I should say, background noise level, so this will need separate treatment. Also, I had one interesting thing that happened to me. I had something that was a disturbance, and I don't know exactly what it was or if it made it into the original recording. This is a valuable lesson. Always work on copies and have the original file on at least 2 different devices as backup, so that you can go back to the original at any point and compare. So this audio is damaged. We can hear here first we have the background noise, and suddenly a new disturbance comes in. Luckily it's just for these few key presses. So it's only one note that is affected in the Gedacht. And I don't know why, really. Doesn't matter. I don't know even if it's possible to save these notes or this note or not. But we will deal with that later. So, to begin with, we can select the key press noises maybe, and usually I think it will be the same for the key presses and the draw stop noise effects. So the noise effects isn't that sensitive as the samples, the note samples, because these are going to be played quite a lot and usually at pretty high or very audible levels, of course, since we want to hear the samples. But the noise effects are more seldom and usually at a lower level, so it's not that critical. I select a part first here, where I have some of the noises, and then I go up to the noise reduction effect, and now I try to tweak these settings to get a good, or get a usable result, I should say, because the goal isn't to remove everything, especially not everything in the tone. Actually, I want to reduce as little as possible, because all the noise reduction will damage the audio. It will degrade the audio somewhat. So the less I can get away with, the more of the original file is kept. Some might think that that is not for, such a strategy is not for them, and they may do whatever they want to with their samples, but I want to preserve as much of what was actually recorded as possible, because that is what I have spent time on trying to get that recording in the first place. If the sound that I was recording wasn't to my liking, I should have changed the position of the microphones when before doing that recording, so that I got the sound that I wanted. But again, people are different. So anyway, you have the preview here to kind of check what will happen. You should always listen at pretty high levels so that you can clearly hear what is happening. So I will preview this. And it's pretty good. No audible artifacts from the noise reduction, but it's quite noisy. So perhaps we could push it down further. This is the amount of maximum noise reduction, and here you have the sensitivity of what will be decided to be noise, and this frequency smoothing sometimes helps, but many times it also cuts away too much of the lower frequencies. So I try at 24. That would probably be quite usable. Noise reduction is a repetitive, or should I say cyclic process, where you do something, test it and evaluate it, and then get decide finally if this is good enough or if you want to redo it. I usually redo it many times before I'm happy, but this perhaps will work. We can do it like this. So we apply it and then we can listen to it here. And I can do very easily like this, so that I solo the reference and listen to it. And compare. So we can hear that a lot of the low end actually is gone in this. Perhaps this can be done better. So I will undo this, Control Z, you have it here. We'll undo it, and then I can go back to the noise reduction and I can try to tweak it. So it removed too much low end actually. So I will back off on the sensitivity and see what happens. And you can hear that some small artifacts are showing up. The more I go here, I will have more of them. So the question is, where can I have a decent compromise? So what I'm concerned with is that I'm losing quite a lot of the low end when I'm doing the noise reduction. So I was somewhere around here. So slightly more. But we get some jitter kind of artifacts. I can try adding some frequency smoothing and see what happens. This could perhaps work. I will try applying this and listen to it and compare it to the original. This is the original first. So one could put it on a loop also, like this, and then kind of yeah, I think this can probably work as settings for that. So I will undo that noise reduction I just did, like so, and then I will select the whole part that I want to noise reduce. So here we have a draw stop noise effect, so I'll select that and I will go right up to here. And then I will click Ctrl R to repeat the noise reduction. like so. And then I have it performed. So I'll just check the draw stop noise effect too and listen to what it sounds like. And compare it to the original. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. So you can hear that there are some noise, quite a lot of noise left, but I think the noise gate will take care of that with suitable settings. So perhaps I can show you that already. No, I perhaps will do all the same places where I have the draw stop noise effect. So I will select everything and zoom out, and I will go into all the places where I have draw stop noise effect. So here is one. And then I will click on Control R to repeat the noise reduction process. So moving on to here, I have an, oh shit, sorry about that. So here I have a draw stop off, so I will do the noise reduction on that. And sorry, I'm not handling this very well. So here we have an on for the rörflöjt, so I'll repeat on that. And then we should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here we should have some draw stop off. Yes. And then another on. So I'll repeat the noise reduction for them. And then we will move on to the final. Perhaps, no, not really the final, but almost. Here we have another. And I'll repeat that like so. And now I think we have all the noise effects except the blower, but that needs separate treatment as it has different noise level. So at this point I could experiment with the noise gate and see what settings I need to have for them for that. So I'll check, or I will select a small part here again of the noises, and I will go into the noise gate and test what levels are suitable. So this is the threshold when something a noise gate works by letting through the signal completely when it's strong, and when it gets below a certain level it will attenuate it further. So this is the threshold, and well, yeah, you can select to only work on certain frequencies and allow others through. And the level of it, and the attack time is the opening of the gate, kind of how fast it opens, the minimum hold time, and then the decay of it. So I will test by the preview to listen to what the result would be. Seems to be working pretty okay, I would say. So I will do like this, that I activate it or apply it and then I undo it by Control Z. You can see here that I have done it, so it will be the noise reduction instead. And then I select all the parts that I want to apply the noise gate to, like so. And then I will use Control R to repeat the noise gate. That would be the same as going up here and repeating it. So like this. Oh, very much went away. Did you see that? So it would sound like this now if I play back. And lots of stuff actually got kind of gated out. But the things I want to keep are now pretty clear here. The question is here, do we have enough? Perhaps this was too much, actually. You can hear that almost all the release of that one was removed. So if this is not suitable, I will remember this part. I will undo the noise gate, and I will go back to here it was. Yeah, so that release is quite soft. So I'll test on that, and I will go back again here. This is the story of noise reduction, really. Do, test, and undo, repeat. So I will lower the threshold of the gate to begin with, and we'll see if that lets more through of the signal. Yeah, it seems so. So I will apply this instead. Seems to do the thing it should. So I will undo it again. Confirm that it's undone. Yes. And then select again what I want to gate. And repeat the gate. And now it seems to have more left of the noise sample. So that should work, I think. I will back to all the other places where I had noise effects, and I will apply the gate on them too, like so. By Control R to repeat it. It's quite handy, as you can see, to not go into the menu every time and click around all the time. So that is done now. Now I can start working on the samples. And I could select one here. This is in the Rörflöjt. So I select one of them and go into the noise reduction again and test it out. Here I might want to push the noise reduction more. Because these will be stacked upon each other much more. Still, I want to keep as much of the tone as possible, so I will apply these settings like so, and then I will play it back and compare it to the original. So here, and I can even do like this. I will show you. I add a new loop I should add here. Why isn't it showing? Probably I need to clear the old loop region. Or do it like that. So now I can quite easily, if it's active, go back and forth between the original and the noise reduced version. So actually this is very good. I'll keep that. So I'll undo the noise reduction, and I will then select all the Rörflöjt 4 parts, like so, approximately. That's not really critical, but I should get all of the samples within it and don't go into any other. So then I will repeat this, Control R, and it applies the noise reduction to that whole set of it. And now I should really listen to each and every one of these samples to verify that they work fine. But I won't really do that, but instead move on here and try doing the same. I might need to adjust things for different pitches. So usually working an octave or so at a time might be good, but sometimes you need to work on one note and adjust the settings for the next and so on. But we'll try to repeat this. And then I will listen to one of these samples and evaluate it. So I go in here. And it sounds very good, I think. So I will just continue doing this with the 1 foot 2. 1 foot 2. And be careful not to go into the noise we have here. So I'll repeat that like so. And that is done. So now the most difficult is the low-pitched samples. So I'll go back to the Gedacht now and leave this damage note out for now and try to select here and check what noise reduction could possibly work here. So we test it first. So here we can hear that we have more problems with the tone, actually. If I would apply this and compare it to, let's do that again. We set the loop to the current selection and we have the loop play. So I'll compare it to the original. So actually the tone is not that bad, but we have some kind of fluctuations or artifacts from the noise reduction that I'd like to get rid of. Actually, the tone is pretty good, but that disturbance in the tone I want to get rid of. So I will undo the noise reduction and go back to the effect. And you see this once again. Try tweaking the settings. So this was the earlier. Question is, if I lower the amount, will it be better? I'll listen. Compare. Yes, it actually gets better with less of a reduction. The question is, what would happen if I would add frequency smoothing? Then it kind of loses all the bottom end, so that is not what I will do. So at 24 it seemed to kind of be calmer, but what if I also change the sensitivity? Loop play is on. And I actually think that that could work as a noise reduction setting for the GrandOrgue. So I will undo, select the non-destroyed parts of the GrandOrgue, and apply this by Control R to repeat the noise reduction. And then we can go back and forth. If in doubt, leave more noise in the sample. The defects might be audible, if there are any, I should say, might be more audible on headphones and with high listening volumes, but on speakers with some distance and normal listening volumes when having the sample set together, you might find that you can get away with much more noise in the samples. And the gain is that you preserve more of the pipe character, which will make it ultimately more interesting to listen to, at least in my opinion, than a dull, boring sound that yeah, we might have here, because this is a nightmare. So that is the next thing, perhaps, to work on, these destroyed parts. So I will select a new noise profile here, because this is completely different. So I go back to the spectral view and I try to select some parts of where we only have noise. Perhaps after this short attack or before. No, it's a bubble here and a bubble there. But in between here is pretty... Unfortunately, you can hear that the noise is fluctuating too, or the disturbance. This isn't even noise, it's a distortion of the audio signal. So the question is, where should I try to get that noise profile? If I put this on a loop, I'm not sure if this is going to work, but we can test it. So noise reduction, get the noise profile anew, and I switch back to the waveform because it's nicer to look at, I think, and select a note like so. And I will try to find some settings that might work or not. We'll see. So noise reduction. This was for the rest of the Geduct. It will sound like this. So we can hear that it still leaves quite a lot of the distortions, and we have those pulsations of sound, or not sound, of distortions. This is very difficult, likely to remove. With the increased amount of sensitivity and noise reduction, the tone gets very dull. But otherwise we will have quite a lot of noise in it. No. At least not on that level it works. But the problem with the smoothing generally is that it kind of removes so much low end that it destroys the samples too much. This I almost would say is usable, except for these kind of impulses. The question is if it's possible to get rid of them. Without losing Oh, it gets worse. The further away I push this, it gets worse. So I won't go there really. The question is where? That is perhaps the bursts are perhaps the most irritating things, but at this level it's simply too much left. We can try doing this. And we put a loop on that. Play it. So yeah, we have lost very much of the wind noise in the pipe sample, unfortunately, but I think this is perhaps the only way I can get at all a usable result. Another option, if this would happen, is to interpolate that tone from another that I'm pitch shifting or manipulating in other ways to get a result. I will undo that noise reduction, select the whole section here that is kind of left, and I will repeat. So that is done. I haven't put some kind of noise gate on these samples yet, so I will select a note perhaps here. And test adding a gate here. Seems to be working actually with these settings. Remember that the numbers I have here doesn't need to match what you need to use in your recordings. So don't take these for, or any of the values as the golden bullet, you know. You'll have to use your ears and listen to what happens to the samples when you kind of, you can see that the noise gate removes the softer parts. This might be problematic with if the church would have lots of reverb, then you would need to be very careful with the noise gate to not lose it. But well, in this case it works pretty good. So I will undo that, and then I will apply this noise gate to all the relevant parts where I have kind of samples, and not on the noise effects, because they are, I have already done. So I will repeat this noise gate. It is in the repeat now, like so, and then I will select the rörflöjt here, like so, and we will gate it by repeat, Control R, and we move on to the 2-foot. Remember to avoid the noise effect that I want to keep. And then we have the 1-foot here. So that is the noise reduction of the samples. I'm only left with the blower noise finally. So I will zoom in here and go into the spectral view. try to find a part I can enlarge this by dragging it, where I don't see so much things that change. Perhaps could listen at this part, and here I set a loop there. That could perhaps work, so I set the noise profile for that. And then I select the blower. So this is a background noise effect. So it's not that critical to remove so much of that noise, really. So I'll try to be gentle with that. But still, I don't want to have artifacts too audible. Which I have here. I'll try adding a bit frequency smoothing and see if that helps. Still a bit too much of the... It jumps around a little bit too much for me. The question is... Oh. Kind of. This could be something. I'll try to apply that. Go take this up. And I'll try to compare it with the original. For some reason they are out of sync slightly. Interesting. So yeah, I think this will do. So now all these noise reductions are ready or done, I should say, for the next step, that is cutting it up. But I will show you that in another video. But this little detail is important. Now that I have done the noise reduction, what I should do is not to save it over the original, but to save it as a new file with the original settings still. Because I might want to clean up a few things later when I cut the samples up. So I will preserve the original quality. So I select the first part here and zoom out a bit and drag the selection to furthest that I have here, And then I will export this as a new file. And I will export the selection, and I will use the original settings, and I will change the name to noise reduced 001. I might change this to AB. Like so, and export it. And now that's done. So you have seen it takes quite a lot of time to do this. So use your own ears, not any fixed numbers. Try to remove as little as possible if that is an option for you, really. It is better to preserve as much as possible of the pipe character when you're doing the noise reduction. But it's unfortunately necessary to do to have an acceptable result in GrandOrgue later. So that was the reason it was offset. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in another video that is not this long. Bye!